Hello and welcome to This Is Your Grandma's Gospel Music, a fun trip down memory lane as we play hymns, spirituals, and gospel classics, as well as perhaps a great song or two that you may not have heard on the radio when it was new. Coming to you from the cluttered corner of a basement in Alta Vista, Virginia, this is one Southern Gospel fan's gift to you, as we take a look at where we've come from in this special music which has blessed, comforted, and entertained millions for hundreds of years. And now, here's your host, Warren and Jerry Smoot's pride and joy, Gerilyn Dawn.
Thank you, Steve. Well, hello there. I am your host, Gerilyn Dawn, and I am so thrilled that you are listening to our very first episode of This Is Your Grandma's Gospel Music. And we have some great music lined up for this half hour. And the first song we're going to bring to you is one that I literally remember listening to as a child in my grandmother's apartment in Pontiac, Michigan on her hi-fi stereo. It was her gospel album that we inherited, and it's been one of my favorites for all my life that I can remember. From the 1972 album Moving Up, here are the Lefevres with I'm One of His Own.
No more of that hope so, think so, maybe religion, that's a thing of the past. There was a time when I hoped so, thought so, but it didn't last. I had to admit I wasn't living right, got down on my knees to receive the new sight. And now I don't hope so, think I am, maybe I'm one of his own.
I'm one of his own. I'm one of his own. I'm one of his own. I'm one of his own. I surrender my life to him, never to be alone.
I used to go to church and testify,
I wonder if I had a home on high.
The longer do that and I can tell him all about it. I'm one of his own.
Salvation is given free and promised to each one who believe in the Lord. We can have a hope that someday maybe that's the promise of God. Just ask him to forgive and take your life and put an end to heartache, trouble, and strife. But don't try to make it to heaven alone. Be one of his own.
I'm one of his own. I'm one of his own. I'm one of his own. I surrender my life to him, never to be alone.
go to church and testify.
I wonder if I had a home on high.
The longer do it down and I can tell him all about it. I'm one of his own. 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 I surrender my life to him, never to be alone.
I used to go to church and testify.
I wonder if I had a home on high.
The longer do it down and I can tell him all about it. I'm one of his own.
Soul, since the Savior made me whole.
Way down,
way down,
way down,
way down, oh, way down deep in my soul, my soul. I'm trusting Jesus every day, for I know I'm on my way. Way down, way down, way down, way down, yes, oh, way down in my soul, my soul.
Down in
my soul,
I'll
will sing
and
pray
till Christ shall
come to take me with him to stay. Then I'll be going to that home, never more from him to roam. Way down, way down, way down, way down, yes, oh, way down in my soul, my soul. See, for he came and set me free.
Way down,
way down,
way down,
way down, oh, way down deep in my soul, my soul. I know there's glory to behold, for I feel it in my soul. Way down, way down, way down, way down, yes, oh, way down in my soul, my soul. Down
Now that brings back some memories for me personally. When I was a teenager in Pontiac, Michigan, I told you I was from there originally, my brother and 3 of the young fellas from our church got together and formed what they call those mock quartets where they pantomimed the song, and that song was one of them that they did. And oh, that was so much fun. I was the piano player, by the way. From 1962, those were the Blackwood Brothers, way down deep in my soul, from the album Precious Memories, 12 old-time singing convention songs. And I really love the album cover on that because it's more artwork, and it kind of depicts an old-time singing convention. It has a horse-drawn surrey on the cover and a lady playing at the pump organ, and everybody was all dressed up so gorgeous. But those were some wonderful days, I'm sure. And that song, great memories. By the way, in 1962, when that album was recorded, gas was 27 cents a gallon. A first-class postage stamp was 4 cents. And bread was 21 cents a loaf. Yeah, we've come a bit of a long way since then, haven't we? Well, here's some more great music. I'm sure your grandmother loved good old gospel hymns. This one is one of my favorites. Nobody does it better, I believe, than the smooth bass voice of Armin Morales as he sings with Jake Hess and the Imperials from the Fireside Hymns LP. Here's Sweet Hour of Prayer.
Sweet hour of prayer, sweet hour of prayer, that calls me from a world of care and bids me at my Father's throne make all my wants and wishes known. In seasons of distress and grief, my soul has often found relief and oft escaped the tempter's snare by thy return, sweet hour of prayer. And since he bids me seek his face, believe his word, and trust his grace, I'll cast on him my every care and wait for thee, sweet hour of prayer.
As well as loving those old, beautiful hymns of the church, perhaps your grandmother was a good cook. So we're going to have a segment on this show called In the Kitchen with Granny. And I'm excited because I'm going to use this old cookbook published by the Western North Carolina Conference of the Pentecostal Holiness Church. It belonged to my mother. The book belonged to my mother-in-law. It's got to be 60 or 70 years old, but one of those good old church recipe books, cookbooks. In this particular episode, we're going to start with dessert, because they always say you should eat dessert first. So we're going to do a pound cake recipe that was given by Mrs. Ruth Eads of Alta Vista, Virginia. I did know Mrs. Eads a little bit. She passed away a few years ago, but I'm very good friends with her son, Mark, who happens to sing with me locally in a small group. And I just thought it'd be kind of cool to bring her basic pound cake recipe to our first program. So here you go. If you want to write this down, it's 3 cups sugar, 2 sticks of margarine, a half cup of Crisco, Sounds like a good cholesterol recipe. 3 cups of cake flour, and she's got the Swan's Down brand listed. 1 cup sweet milk, and that's a term that I learned after I moved south. I guess it's just regular milk. 1 teaspoon vanilla, 1.5 teaspoons of lemon extract, and 5 eggs. Okay, I had to read this a couple of different times, but it says cream, sugar, and shortening together, and I'm thinking it means by hand, like with a spoon. Maybe you use your hand, I don't know. Then it says beat in 1 egg at a time with the mixer. Then you add the flour and the milk, then vanilla and lemon. It says cook at 350 degrees for 1 hour and 15 minutes. And she specifically says, do not open door until time is up. So there you have it. If you need a copy of that recipe, feel free to get in touch with me and we will let you know how at the end of the program. In the meantime, here is a song that I know that somebody's grandmother loved. You probably love it too. And feel free to sing right along wherever you're at, whether it's on the radio or watching on YouTube or some other media place. But anyway, it's from this album called Keep a Happy Heart. Here's the Spear Family.
I'm in love with my Savior and He's in love with me. He is with me from day to day. What a friend is He. Watches over me while I sleep. Hears me when I pray. I am happy as I can be, and I now can say,
Somebody loves me, answers my prayer. I love somebody, I know He cares. Somebody tells me not to repine. That somebody is Jesus, and I know He's mine.
then at last when our work is done, He will call us home to a mansion He has prepared, never more to roam. We'll sit down by the riverside, cares all passed away, and with never a pain to bear, what a happy day. Somebody loves me, answers my prayer. I love somebody, I know He cares. Somebody tells me not to repine. That somebody is Jesus, and I know He's mine.
Somebody loves me, answers my prayer. I love somebody, I know He cares. Somebody tells me not to repine. That somebody is Jesus, and I know He's mine.
From Tampa, Florida, the Rebels Quartet.
He could have called 10,000 angels to destroy the world, and to set him free. He could have called 10,000 angels, but He died alone for you and me. They bound the hands of Jesus in the garden where he prayed. They led him through the streets of shame. They spat upon his robe, so pure and free from sin. They said, crucify him, he's to blame. And then upon his precious head they placed a crown of thorns. They laughed and said, behold the King. They struck him and cursed him, then mocked his holy name. But all along he suffered everything.
When they nailed him to the cross, his mother stood nearby. He said, woman, behold thy son. He cried, I thirst for water. But these men, they gave him none. Then the sinful work of man was done. To the howling mob he yielded. No, he did not for mercy cry. The cross of shame, he bore it all alone. And when he cried, it's finished, he gave himself to die.
He could have called 10,000 angels to destroy the world, and to set him free. He could have called 10,000 angels, but he died alone.
From the album, Lloyd Orrell presents the Northern States Quartet Convention, recorded May 19th, 20th, and 21st of 1962 at the Masonic Temple in downtown Detroit, Michigan. And as Lloyd introduced the group, that was the Rebels Quartet. And for those of you who know more recent gospel music, you might have recognized that lead singer was Mr. Jim Hamill in his younger days. That Masonic Temple is still standing in Detroit, and when I was a teenager, my mom and dad helped Lloyd's son Larry and a couple other folks up there promote the gospel music back in the 1980s. And it's a beautiful place, and I'm sure that place was packed full during that convention. And we'll play from time to time different groups who were there for that particular event. And that song, 10,000 Angels, just brings home the point why we do what we do. We sing songs that we love and enjoy, but we want to present the gospel. And that so poignantly points out what Jesus went through for us on the cross. If you don't know him, oh, I beg you. You gotta know Jesus. You gotta know he's the only way. And I hope you will stop what you're doing and trust him if you haven't already done that. So, some of you are probably wondering why I am doing this show now. Well, my mom and dad, Warren and Jerry, when they brought me home from the hospital back in 1960-something, yes, I'm getting old too, they put me in a cradle right next to my dad's RCA Victor speakers and began playing these quartet records. They were not old at the time I was born, but they're old now, and I guess that means I am too. I don't know. But it became ingrained in me, and when I was 13 years old, I went to a concert that totally turned everything upside down for me, and from then on, I was just hooked, and I still love it to this day, but I love going back, listening to the old songs, the old style, the old crackly pop of the LP, and I'm glad that long play albums are coming back now. But anyway, before my mom and dad got married, my dad used to call into a radio show in Detroit and request this song to dedicate to my mom. And these are the Couriers. I have become friends with them in the last few years, and what a privilege that has been for me personally. And I'm hoping I'm going to get Dwayne Nicholson on here sometime to talk about his experience in gospel music. But this song was very precious to my mom and dad in those early days, and one of the forerunners to me loving gospel music, I guess, now. And it's a great song. It simply says, "Sweet Jesus." Sweet he is. Those were the Couriers from way back in the day. Hey, thank you for joining us on this very first episode of our show. This is your grandma's gospel music, and this is probably the most exciting song ever recorded in gospel music, in my opinion, by my favorite vintage quartet. Probably many of you can say the same thing. Recorded November 6th, 1959 at the Ryman Auditorium in Nashville, Tennessee. Take it away, Hovey Lister and the Statesmen.
Thank you very much. Getaway Jordan.
Get away.
Get away. Get away.
cause so much. You know I promised the Lord if He'd set me free. Yeah, I'd go and sit and find what the end might be. Yeah, one day I was walking along. Yeah, you know I heard a voice, but I saw the one. Hey, now the voice I heard sounded oh so sweet. Yeah, came down from my head to the sole of my feet. I said, get away, get away, get away. Oh, Chili Jordan, I'm gonna cross the line. Hey, now, one of these mornings, and it won't be long. Yeah, you're gonna look for me, child, but I'll be gone. Yeah, just a few more rises and settings of the sun. Yeah, I did no battle before then my victory won. Yeah, hey, now, the friends that I used to love so dear. Yeah, and God gone on to glory and left me here. Yeah,
when my feet get cold, I just shut it. Body been chilled with a hand together. Congaloo to the roof of my mouth. And they folded across the breast. Don't have to worry about the way I think. Anybody done told me that it'd be right there. Help me up on his wings of love. And the soldier to heaven of the band. Help me, Jordan. Even wide they pull the light. See you on the other side.
Get away, Jordan.
Get away.
Get away, Chili Jordan.
Get away.
I'm gonna cross the land.
Oh, you
Get
ain't
away,
going. Get away.
Get away, Jordan. I'm gonna cross the land. See my love.
You've been listening to This Is Your Grandma's Gospel Music with your host, Gerilyn Dawn. We hope you'll tune in next week at this same time for another lively half hour of music, history, and sheer joy as we take you down memory lane of the world's greatest music. If you'd like to get in touch with a comment or a request, email Gerilyn at GerilyncHristianComedy@yahoo.com. That's GERILYN Christian Comedy. Or drop an old-fashioned line at Gerilyn Christian Comedy, P.O. Box 388, Alta Vista, Virginia, 24517. You can also like us on Facebook at Gerilyn Dawn Concerts and Comedy. And just remember, if you know Christ, the best days aren't behind us, they're just ahead. So keep on looking for Jesus.
God said just to trust in Him and He would see you through.